Welcome to the REI Diamonds Show with Dan Breslin, your source for real estate investment jewels of wisdom.
Welcome to the REI Diamond Show. I'm your host, Dan Breslin, and this is episode 121 with me, Dan Breslin, on accessing off-market deals, how to be a VIP buyer, agent, or wholesaler. So this is a topic I've discussed. You may have heard if you've been around the REI Diamond Show any length of time. I mentioned this in several episodes, but I took the time here to put together all the information step by step on how you can form relationships with the opposite party. So if you're a buyer and you want to be a VIP buyer, in other words, a VIP buyer, if I'm going to define what a VIP buyer is going to be in this episode, it's going to be somebody who's getting the phone call or the text message or a personalized email before any mass marketing email blast goes out by either a wholesaler, a real estate agent, could even be a real estate attorney, an estate attorney who's referring probate deals to you. So your VIP buyer status is going to be driven by how you behave and how you define that relationship. To be a VIP agent or a VIP wholesaler, you're going to want to pay attention in this episode as well to figure out what your expectations, what your role in this relationship would be, and what benefits you would have in wanting to have, a VIP buyer or a few VIP buyers in tow who you would want to invest the additional time in text message, email, phone call, etc. before you do the mass marketing approach, and why that might be a good idea. Before we get started here, I'm just going to talk a few minutes here about how I got to the place that I'm at here today. Right now on the board, I have 73 deals cooking. It is currently October 2018. In 2015, I originally was in Philadelphia. 2006 through 2015 is where I lived, where I operated my business. I was blessed to have wonderful partners, walk into my life at just the right time. I moved from Philadelphia to Chicago, where my daughter had been living since 2004, 2005. So in 2015, she was a teenager, and I moved here to Chicago so that I could be close to her while she was still in her teenage years before she gets off to college and those kind of things, and growing up here in the next 3 or 4 years and moving on, and that's no longer a possibility. The move to Chicago introduced me in my career to a new market, Chicago, which led me to look at a few other markets around the country, including Tampa, Miami, and Atlanta. And, from Philadelphia, maybe if I was lucky to have on a really, really good month, maybe close 4 or 5, maybe 6 deals. When we expanded the team and expanded to all these markets here, this is by no means anything I could do on my own. This is definitely as a result of the efforts of my team. But we've closed on our best month about 50 deals. On our average month, we're doing about 25 to 30 deals. And on the slow months, we're probably doing about 15 deals. 85% of my deals come from direct marketing. So direct marketing, a marketing system for generating leads. Leads can turn into deals. Is critical for any real estate investor. I guess for many businesses, it's going to be deal driven. You're going to have to generate leads. And 85% of my deals, most of the volume comes from those sources. And what do I mean by direct marketing? I'm not going to get into the depth and details of direct marketing. That could take literally years long on a podcast or, just to develop that knowledge. But in general, you probably already heard a ton of direct mail, pay-per-click advertising, Facebook ads. We've done, placemat advertisement in restaurants in the neighborhoods that we like. We've done bus stop benches. We have signs. We have offices, physical locations here. So all the same things a lot of other businesses do. If you look around at other advertising, that's the kind of stuff that we do here to generate our lead flow. And that's the same thing that any VIP wholesaler, VIP agent, somebody who a buyer would consider a VIP was somebody with a direct, repeatable source of deals. That's one of the things that a wholesaler is going to have to do in order to generate any kind of volume. So if you are a real estate agent or a wholesaler who's interested in doing volume and does not already have direct marketing systems set up, I'd encourage you to take a look at my primer on direct marketing, primer on the wholesale business, but it's also very transferable knowledge. to real estate agents as well, because you're getting sellers to call you directly. That'd be the book I wrote called Become a Wholesale Real Estate Master. You can get a free download PDF at reidiamonds.com. Again, not going to be the focus of today's episode, but I did want to share that resource in case you are looking to expand your direct marketing, expand your deal flow coming across the desk, or if you're a agent or wholesaler who's interested in becoming a VIP agent and, or wholesaler who brings a ton of value, aka a ton of deals to the VIP buyers that you're developing in your community. Okay, so the other 15% of the deals that we do here, Diamond Equity Investments throughout the country, Miami, Atlanta, Chicago, Philadelphia, Tampa, we're flipping houses, and I am on a ton of wholesalers lists. And I have a lot of people in our network on our buyers list who know what we do, agents, et cetera, who bring us deals. And so they come from our network. People know what we do. They reach out. They bring us deals. And that's where the rest of them come from. So in a sense, why I'm creating the episode is because I strive to do things on my end, to pay more attention, to the other party situation, the other party, in my case, being the wholesaler or agent bringing me those deals in those 15% of situations. I strive to perform above average and do certain things to make sure I maintain that relationship the best that I can so that I'm not wasting that wholesaler's time who brought me the deal. I learned that, my end of that relationship requires effort, and I'm going to share that here today. I learned that because I was on the opposite side for a number of years. When I got in the business in 2006, I was pretty much broke, and the only option I had was to wholesale deals, become good at finding deals, and that was the value I brought to the table in the real estate business, and continued to grow that value to the place where I'm at today, where we have, plenty of capital to close on any of these fix and flip deals in any of our markets, along with our great pipeline of deal that we've developed in-house. So really, if you are a buyer or an agent, in a sense, you have two ways to access off-market deals. It's no big secret. You either have a huge marketing budget, and, when I say a huge marketing budget, I don't just mean the dollar amount that's spent. A lot of times people will cringe at the dollar amount that's spent, especially if I share our marketing budgets of, 5 and 6 figures that take place each month. The dollar is important, yeah, but there's also a tremendous amount of time that's involved in developing and maintaining and being more creative with how that marketing budget is spent. I've never found it to be the case where I can just spend $20,000 on television advertising and then get a reliable, consistent amount of deals from, a pour the bucket out mentality on my marketing budget. I've always had to figure out ways to make a better approach, to come up with, better systems for doing the marketing budget. So the time is something you got to consider as well in the marketing budget. And then the second way that I find to get access to off-market deals, which is low dollar costs, is to create VIP buyer and VIP agent wholesaler relationships, the topic that we're talking about here today. I laid out this episode so that if you want to use this as a tool, if you're a VIP buyer and you're looking to develop this type of relationship with an agent or wholesaler, it's good to be able to articulate the things I'm going to talk about in this episode. So I'm creating this episode here as a tool for you to say, hey, look, I'm a VIP buyer. I really would love to get, a deal brought to me, ahead of time before you send it out to the list. Here's how this would work. I'm going to send you over an audio recording I listened to, and you could just share this episode with them and kind of define what you're expecting them to do. And the agent or the wholesaler can tell you flat out, hey, look, I'm not doing this. This doesn't work for me. I don't really see the value there. Or they could say, you know what? I do see the value. I get it. And I know what my side of the street is going to look like. And it's going to be the same for the agent. So we're going to talk about how the buyer, the VIP buyer, behaves and what the benefit of the VIP buyer in your network is worth. For me as a wholesaler on the flip side, and it would be the same way for the agent, to have that go-to VIP buyer to send a deal, text, bring them to the living room, get the deal done without ever having to go on the MLS or do another showing, or send it out to the email blast and jeopardize your deal and your position with the seller if you're a wholesaler. Being able to have those buyers know what the deal is and be responsive and do all the actions I'm going to talk about here is critical. So if you're an agent or if you're a wholesaler and you're looking to develop a relationship with a VIP buyer, you identify a buyer who seems to really know the business, know what they're doing, are well-funded, and you want to grow that relationship with them, this episode's created so that you could just email the episode over to them, send them a link. They listen to it, they get what they're supposed to be doing, and that way, this episode can be the half hour or so instead of you having to be on the phone and develop this, over a phone call or over the course of several months with that person. Both of you can listen to the episode and both know kind of what your expectations and what your responsibilities are to maintain this relationship over the long haul. So with that, I'm going to talk about the VIP relationship. The relationship between a buyer and a direct, repeatable source of deals is the VIP buyer relationship. The repeatable source of deals to the VIP buyers, the source of deals would be the agent or the wholesaler. And I would say that if you are going to expect that agent or wholesaler to be kind of a VIP status and somebody that's, worth investing the time with and to build this relationship, you want to make sure they have a marketing system for generating deals consistently over time. The VIP buyer side of the street. Now, here's one of the things for a VIP buyer that may be tricky. The VIP buyer should pay a fair price for deals and not try to squeeze every dime out of the deal. I'm going to talk about that in detail a little further in our episode here because it's counterintuitive to what we do as real estate investors, and we're always negotiating and buying at a better price. The second thing about a VIP buyer is they need to be a volume operation. Or if they're not, the agent or wholesaler's got to expect, them to give them the no-go on a deal they bring to the table quick. So a high volume operation, meaning that buyer can do more than one deal at a time. It's really difficult to have, a long-term VIP buyer relationship if you're an agent or wholesaler doing a volume of deals with somebody who only has a very limited amount of capital. They have maybe like a crew, they're working with their own cash, and they have enough money only to buy like one deal at a time, fix it up, then sell it. If it's kind of a one-at-a-time person, you're more than welcome to do deals with them, but like as far as investing a lot of time and expecting them to be able to jump and get the job done, it's very difficult to have somebody who's got a lack of that funding to develop obviously a volume of deals. Part of the reason an agent or wholesaler would come to that VIP buyer is they're paying the fair price and they can buy more than one deal at a time. And so it's repeatable. It's easy. They're used to going to settlement, etc. So from the agent or wholesaler's perspective, we did a deal recently. The wholesaler brought me a deal, sent me an email. Hey, Dan, I got this deal, blah, blah, blah. Now for me, as a buyer, and looking for that VIP treatment, I'm looking for somebody who sent me that email personally and said, hey, Dan, I'm not talking about it was the MailChimp or the mail list thing where they mentioned my first name in the email and it was a huge automated system and the email went out to 1,000 people. So I'm keeping an eye on all of my emails. And when I see those buyers list emails, I typically just don't get involved because for me and where we're at, we have so many deals cooking. I don't necessarily have time to go out and look at, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15 of those buyers list email deals. But if somebody takes the time, one of the wholesalers or an agent, to send me the deal personally, I strive and make every effort to pay attention to that, and I identify that. This is a one-off email. This was a one-off text message. This was not part of a mass blast that I personally just don't have the time to get involved in. And a lot of VIP buyers may not also have the time to get involved in having to run around and do multiple showings with multiple people just to not get the deal. So some of the value is that we're going to talk about a $40,000 assignment that we paid off the sheet recently. A wholesaler sent me the deal. It was one showing. We scheduled the showing immediately. I called him up immediately. It was a Friday evening at about 7 o'clock. By Saturday at the same time, 7 o'clock, we had the contract signed, and it was a $40,000 assignment. It was a price on the property that I felt like was fair, so we didn't beat the guy up. We didn't try to squeeze every dime out of the deal. And when we found out it was a $40,000 assignment, we were A-okay with that. And I think that is the lesson there in a $40,000 assignment is there's a lot of buyers, a lot of people who would get squeamish when they found out, oh my gosh, this guy's making $40,000 off me on this deal. And I've seen people talk themselves back out of those deals, back out. They back out of the contract on those deals. They blow the deal up. They try to, circumvent that wholesaler and get a better deal through the seller. They do all kinds of things that are not conducive to a long-term relationship with that wholesaler. From my perspective, I pay that guy $40,000. I pay it off the sheet, and he knows that I'm easy to deal with, that I show up, that I close. Who do you think that he's calling the next time he has another deal for sale? He's calling me. We earn that situation. We earn that VIP buyer status by paying the assignment, being easy to deal with. When we sign that contract, that wholesaler knows it's a done deal and they can get on to the next deal. Yeah, they have to wait for the settlement to get their cash, but they don't have to spend the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks posting Zillow ads, posting Craigslist ads, wondering if somebody's going to circle back around from that Craigslist posting and knock on the door of their seller and say, hey, look, I see that this property's marketed on Craigslist. Can I just come in and look at it and buy it? And next thing you know, that wholesaler is not able to get their seller back on the phone because somebody's, showed up from your marketing. The value to the client, to the seller, to an agent, to the wholesaler in that deal is that they don't have to have the Macy's Day Thanksgiving parade of 10 investors, 8 investors. It can be like a hairy situation with some of these deals where, there's like a million people walking around and the seller's wondering what the hell's going on. So one phone call to me, we show up, one person showing up, contractor maybe, and then we're doing the deal immediately. And one thing that said when we paid the $40,000 assignment off the sheet, it means that there's no line item on the HUD stating, $40,000 is going to the original buyer name, to the wholesaler name. We cut the check separately at settlement, and we do still 1099. This is a business, and you have to pay taxes on the deal. It's not like you're getting away from that. But the value is that the seller doesn't see $40,000 of settlement and say, oh, no, I'm not settling this. I need another I need $20,000 more. I've been the wholesaler with that HUD on the, that amount listed on the sheet, and had to renegotiate and pay more money to the seller to keep the deal from blowing up at the settlement table before. So I strive as a VIP buyer, as I would encourage you to do, to, offer solutions that would work, to pay the fees off the sheet when possible, to know that you're heading off the risk for that wholesaler who brought you the deal. Ultimately, a seller is looking for a buyer. If this, and of course, I don't know if I mentioned it, but all the product that we're talking about, all the real estate deals I'm talking about, these are all like conditionally distressed properties that need renovation, and it's a good fit for an investor. That's where it belongs. It's in the cash investor market. None of these properties are retail ready. So like when agents, bring me deals, they know to bring me deals that need renovations, that aren't good fit for a owner occupied to buy, pay for with a mortgage, etc. So my value when an agent brings me a deal is sometimes they're sitting on the market for a long time and the condition's just not right. Nobody wants to, pay the price. Maybe they're listed at a little too high for the condition. So we come in, we make the offer. I'll let somebody know up front, hey, this offer, if you don't take it, I'm not offended. I don't want to offend you. If it's not a good fit, you can just move on, but at least you got this offer and you know where you stand so that if, nothing else comes through from the market, you can pull the trigger with me. The seller is looking for a buyer, and if they want that buyer as quick as possible, the VIP buyer relationship can produce that buyer very quickly. So whether you're an agent, whether you're a wholesaler, if you have that VIP buyer in tow, you text him or her, they come out to the property, sometimes with you, they make the deal, on the spot, in the car, certainly later that evening, and they move on from the deal. And I'll tell you, in many cases, it may not be the best route, your VIP buyer relationship, if you're trying to squeeze every dime out of a property. The value here is speed and convenience. I mean, if you throw the property on the MLS and you have, a large amount of showings, and depending on the condition, maybe you get an owner-occupied person who happens to have cash, or the person is buying the house with a mortgage and your piece of property is able to get financing on it. You may get more money from the open market than from the VIP buyer, but in certain instances, the value is speed and convenience when that seller needs to make the deal immediately. One note about agents. So agents bring a property that needs a renovation to the table. It's my belief that the agent, if they're collecting a commission on that deal, they should probably get the retail side of the listing after the renovation. It's kind of fair. A lot of times, we're buying property for 60, 70, 100,000. commission's not all that good. It's certainly better after we do the renovation and sell the property at $185,000, $225,000, on up. You get where I'm going with it. But the thing is you can't just expect that to happen automatically. If you're an agent and you bring a needs renovation house to the table, it's not a written rule. It's not everybody's mode of operation to just automatically go back to that agent with the retail listing. You got to ask for that. You want to make sure that that's an expectation, you bring up front early in the relationship with the VIP buyer. If you don't and you come back looking for it later, many of these VIP buyers have wife, husband, real estate license himself, son, daughter, somebody in the family, somebody on the team, somebody who's kind of expecting to do that retail end. And some of these VIP buyers have machines and systems in place where, they're going to trust their mode of selling the property on the retail market, holding a showing with several people, holding an open house. They may have systems in place for doing that kind of stuff already. And so you want to bring that up front so that if it's going to be a problem, a lot of times a VIP buyer, like I have no problem if somebody were to bring that up. And in some of my markets, we have that situation where we have what we feel are really good systems for getting retail properties sold. So in that instance where we want to control the retail side of the listing. If an agent brings me listing and they're like, hey, I want to get that, retail afterwards. Hey, listen, instead of doing, the retail listing, we kind of got this happening in-house. I know the commission's only going to be like, $2,500 on this part of the sale. How about instead I just give you $5,000 right now and we just call it a day, and that way you're feeling like you got, at least fair treatment for bringing me this listing. And in most cases, that keeps my agent happy when I'm upfront about that. They don't want to come back around later, see that property listed on the MLS. They will be offended even if they don't call the buyer who brought that, if they had that expectation in mind. And so again, like I mentioned in the beginning here, this episode's about putting the expectations on the table so everyone knows the rules of the game and no one's offending the other party and damaging the relationship between your VIP buyers and your VIP agents or VIP wholesalers. That's the goal. If you're an agent or if you're a wholesaler, how many VIP buyers do you have, right? Is it just like a one go-to VIP buyer and this person is going to deliver every deal? They're going to buy every single deal. I know that most buyers who hop on the phone with an agent or wholesaler will definitely give that impression up front. Yeah, bring me all the deals. Anything I can make a profit on, I'll buy. It's not realistic to do that. I know that I don't buy every single deal, nowhere near it, that I look at, and I wouldn't expect any other buyer to do the same. So, depending on the size of the market that you are farming, if you're doing, a few zip codes and you're not trying to do tons and tons of deals, you may need 2 or 3 VIP buyers, 2 or 3 go-to buyers who are already operating and they also love those same areas. Or if your market size is large, you might have 10 VIP buyers that you're texting, calling, depending on, the area. As time goes on, you're going to figure out what people want, and you're going to have kind of like a VIP buyer, people you can go to a certain type of deal product, depending on what comes across the table. So keep in mind that you can have several of these VIP relationships. So here's a question. How can the agent provide value to the VIP buyer, right? What are the expectations? What are the responsibilities for the agent, the agent and or wholesaler, I guess I should say, somebody who's bringing the deal to the table and looking for a fee, whether it's a commission or an assignment fee, for bringing the deal to the table. That's what wholesalers do, and that's what agents do at some level. Number one, you got to know the investor. You got to bring the right product. I just kind of touched on this a moment ago, but is the investor, what's their investment philosophy? Are they fix and flip investors? If so, what's the after repair value they're looking at? I like properties personally that sell for $200,000 to $300,000 once they're done. I know that I have private money sources who have typically are comfortable with $100,000 to $200,000 per loan. So if I'm out there, looking at $1 million prices, like I don't have a lot of investors who like to do that. I'm not comfortable with flipping $1 million houses. I feel like it's a high risk because of the prices, the amounts of construction, et cetera. So when you're identifying your investors, so what after repair values do they like? What neighborhoods do they like? What parts of the city do they like? How much repairs? What's the construction amount that they typically get involved in? Are they doing, cosmetic paint and carpets, and they want, $10, $15, $20,000, paint the house, put some new carpet, paint the cabinets, maybe put a new countertop in there, and then resell that and make $10,000, $20,000. Is that where they're comfortable? Or do they like to do like full cosmetic, new bathrooms, new kitchens, and paint, carpet, etc., and $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 renovations? Or is this an investor that will tear this, the second floor, will build a full second floor addition? We see a lot of that in Chicago. We see some of that in Philadelphia market, where they'll buy a single story ranch house, tear the roof off, build a second story. The repair cost on something of that nature might be $150,000 to $250,000 or more. That's not going to be every buyer that's willing or able or capable of doing that kind of construction. So, those three different construction types are three very different investors. And so it's important for you as an agent or a wholesaler, if you're looking at a buyer to perform and be your VIP buyer, you got to know what kind of construction they're capable of doing, not just from a funding perspective. Obviously, not having the money for the deal to do the construction is one thing, but also the construction resources. A lot of contractors, many more contractors who can do the paint and carpet than there can build the second story addition out there. Same thing, many more investors who can do that $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 paint and carpet rehab compared to the investors with the vision, with the capital, and with the contractor resources to do a full second story addition or, any number of other very expensive projects. We see a lot of the Chicago deals. People will buy a 2-flat, 3-flat gray stone, meaning there's 2 or 3 units in there, 2-story typically, in the higher end neighborhoods, and they'll gut them completely, spend about $300,000 and turn them into a single family, high end, $900,000 to $1.1 million single family residence. Not everyone can do that kind of deal. And the other thing you want to know about your fix and flip investor is how fast can they close? You got to have a feel for how they're funding that deal. Is it somebody who can close in, 3 or 4 days? I can get a deal done in 3 or 4 days. As long as title's ready, there's deals I close in 24 hours. So I'm ready to go quickly. Not all buyers are going to be mentally comfortable enough to do that. And so you want to get a temperature on that. Maybe ask a question of your potential VIP buyer. Hey, what's the fastest you've ever closed a deal? Because a lot of people, the fastest they've closed a deal or a lightning fast closing is going to be 30 days. That's not uncommon for 30 days to be lightning fast in many buyers' mind. Buyers who've been around the business a long time, done a high volume, a larger number of deals, they're going to be more comfortable with risk, with title, with making a decision quickly. Those, with more experience may be ready to close on the deal much quicker. It's good to know that up front in case you have deadlines as with your seller. The seller needs to move. The seller's facing a tax sale. The seller's facing a foreclosure. You don't want some kind of deadline like that being stalled out because you didn't know that your buyer wasn't going to be ready for 30 days. You need to know how that buyer is going to fund the deal. Your VIP buyer, typically a VIP buyer is going to have cash. I consider personally a VIP buyer who's getting hard money, it's a red flag. I'm like a 50-50 chance that I'm not even going to consider the offer on hard money. I do have many very experienced people who will use hard money sources who I will allow to do that on deals, but most of those people also have plenty of cash in the bank, or they have access to other private investors, people who can step up, joint venture on the deal, fund the deal using cash out of an account, out of an IRA, basically much easier than what would happen with a mortgage. Everybody's been involved with the deal with the mortgage. We understand that those delays really turn the situation into something sour when the deal doesn't close. So most VIP buyers, no dice on the mortgage offers. The other type of investor is that you would want to know, is this VIP person a buy and hold? If so, the area is probably going to be very important to them. There's people who are going to buy specifically around universities. They may buy specifically for student rentals in those neighborhoods, or like me, I buy in advance of gentrification. I look for areas in markets that are improving, that are becoming trendy. The Humboldt Parks in Chicago, the Beltline in Atlanta, South Philadelphia has been changing over, and you see a lot of private investment, public investment, new construction in these neighborhoods, restaurants, trendy nightlife going up. You can operate Airbnbs in these areas. These are the kind of areas where I buy. And so for somebody who has a deal in those areas, that's the kind of thing I'm wishing I would get a phone call on when people pay attention to that. So buy and hold investors, the questions you would want to ask are, what areas are they interested in? Maybe they could describe a recent deal so you would understand, to bring them the right product. what price point they'd like to be at. Are they looking for something that's more turnkey and ready to go condition-wise, or are they ready to do renovations? Some buy and hold investors are going to be very specific in their criteria when it comes to the bedroom and bath count. The bedrooms and baths in certain markets may be much more difficult or much easier to rent. As an example, the 4 and 5 bedroom homes in certain areas outside of Philadelphia are very easy to rent because there are just not a lot of those properties that were even ever built in that price point. And so they're very easy to rent. And I know a lot of landlords who specifically look for that product because the tenants move less, knowing that it's much harder to find a 5 bedroom or a 4 bedroom house in those neighborhoods. The bottom line is the agent bringing value to the VIP buyer. You know, you got to bring the right deals. You can't just bring every property that comes across your desk. I caution heavily to the agents that I deal with, only send me the listings that you have, or a listing that's, you know, in your offer so you have a direct connection to, knowing maybe some inside information, maybe a deal fell apart, you know, some additional value there as opposed to setting me up on an automated search or sending me stuff off the MLS. I'm not going to sift through the inventory and search for the things that might, you know, characterize a deal that we can get done. And so if you're not sure how to hand select and pick some of those, you know, you might want to like not try to bring that kind of stuff to the table, but bring only the stuff you have direct contact to the seller. That goes also with wholesalers. I don't respond well to daisy chain wholesalers. So if I have an agent wholesaler, if I have a wholesaler bringing me somebody else's deal, I shut down. It's too many instances where they brought me someone else's wholesale deal who was bringing someone else's wholesale deal, who's actually bringing someone else's wholesale deal. And then by the time we make the offer and try to get the deal closed, somebody else came in from one of these other 4 or 5 parties who all send it out to their buyer's list. They already locked it up under contract, or the contract expired, or the title was bad. It's just too many variables that can go wrong unless I have a wholesaler or an agent that's directly connected to the seller so that I can get information direct from the source. For me, again, the VIP buyer relationship is all about time for me. I don't have the time to get involved in sifting through. I'm expecting the VIP wholesaler, VIP agent to have done some of that sifting and bring me only those opportunities that are worthy of investing the time. That would be the right deals. So what about from the buyer's perspective? We have the VIP buyer's perspective. Why should they sit up, take notice, identify you as an agent or a wholesaler who's bringing them deals that they should really be paying attention to? Well, it's obvious. You get the first look at the deal. If you maintain that number 1 pole position, you're going to get to look at deals before anybody else looks at the deals. You're going to get some continuity in your deal flow. So this person's bringing a deal, bringing you another deal, bringing you another deal. That's obviously going to give you the opportunity to buy a property potentially with not a lot of competition, because you're going to get the call or the text before the email blast goes out. So you're getting a pipeline of deals. You're going to have to invest a little bit of time and attention to maintain your side of the street as a VIP buyer, but you're going to get access to those deals first that no one else in the world ever finds out about. I figured this whole thing out because I had a VIP buyer who is now a partner of mine. We still flip deals. We still do a ton of deals. We've done, well over 100 deals since 2006 when I met him. And I had a wholesale deal. I think I was making $10,000. He sat me down right when we were closing. He's like, look, I want to get a phone call. Like anytime you get a deal cooking, something under contract, you're getting ready to sign it, I'm going to give you an extra $500 on this deal. And, I'm just looking for you to call me first. So he actually paid me to be the VIP buyer, my go-to. And, as a result, he's still getting deals to this day that no one else in the world has access to. And he's gotten plenty of deals that no one else ever found out about as a result of his doing a couple things, making his offers, his fair offers, getting back to me fast. And obviously early on when I didn't have, hardly any money at all, that $500 was a lot of money to me. How many times have you as a buyer ever paid an extra $500 that you didn't need to on a deal? I still personally never have done that in the 1,000+ deals I've done. So, he literally bought that VIP position in my network there early on before I ever knew and could articulate what it was that he was doing and how that worked. So let's talk a moment about what buyers can do to provide value to the wholesaler and to the agent. And I just touched on this just a little with my VIP buyer relationship that I had early on and still have. There's a couple of things that he does and that I do and that VIP buyers do to keep the pipeline and the relationship strong. Number one, you want to avoid deal-killing habits that naturally occur from bargain seeking. We who've been in the business as real estate investors, as buyers, flippers, naturally you have to negotiate good deals. You have to make a deal that you can make a profit on, that you don't lose money on. You have to get better deals on contracting than most people out there in the market. So by default, we're always trying to ask for a little better deal. But when it comes to somebody who's an agent or a wholesaler that's bringing you deals on multiple occasions, you have to fight that urge and be willing to pay that fair price. Be willing to pay that fair price for the deal when it's brought. So sometimes there's wholesalers who bring a deal and it will work at full price. And even though I could probably make an offer and get it for a little better, I fight the urge and just pay full price for the deal. You know, people ask all the time, how can I get the call before the email gets sent out? How can I basically become a VIP buyer for you? That's the answer. Pay full price, or even pay better than full price. Just like, you know, my guy did so many years ago. Pay more. It's like totally against the grain to do something like that, but I've bought the loyalty of wholesalers by paying more and including them on deals that I quite frankly could have gotten at a tenth of what I paid those wholesalers along the way. And it paid off for me because I did 10 times, 100 times the deals over the course of career by still being in business with those people today. A buyer can develop well-defined buying criteria. You don't want to have, you know, oh, we will buy anything with a profit. Well, now you've got this agent or wholesaler bringing you stuff in a completely different zip code, a completely different county than where you're located, and it just kind of falls apart. So if you have well-defined buying criteria and you can tell them exactly what you're looking for, you're going to find that agents and wholesalers, just like life, will bring you what you want when you have the ability to ask for exactly what you're looking for. And this one here is really important. Don't leave your agents and your wholesalers hanging. So a lot of times, you know, this has been a critical mistake of people who are trying to have that whole position, number one, VIP access. For me, when I'm wholesaling a deal, is I send them a text or I send them a deal, and I'm trying to give them, you know, the first look access. I'm trying to give them VIP treatment, and, you know, I bring the deal, and they never tell me that it's a pass. They don't tell me anything. There's no feedback at all. And so maybe I wait a day. Maybe I wait 2 days, maybe I wait 3 days, maybe I call and follow up. They still don't get back. Oh, yeah, I'll get back out there, you know, soon. You can't leave that party hanging. Like, they have, you know, commitment to the seller, whether they're a wholesaler, they put the property under contract, or whether they're an agent and they have, you know, a seller that they're supposed to be putting the listing on the MLS. If the deal is a no-go as a VIP buyer, just let that person know immediately so they can get on with marketing the property to the broad audience, list it, MLS, you know, buyers list, etc. The quick decision, you know, passing within a few minutes of receiving the deal. If the deal's not for me, I just want to say, hey, this one's not going to work out. You know, I don't buy in that area. I don't buy at this price point, etc. If it's a price issue, I will typically try to give that person a range as to where I think I would be. So if I look at the property and it's just way off in price, hey, listen, I don't think this is going to be a good fit. I'd be somewhere around, you know, $110,000. I know you're getting $165 now. You know, if things change and you really want me to put a solid offer, get back with me. If not, I totally understand if you can get more money for the property. If you're going to be interested in the deal as a VIP buyer, you need to schedule a showing to view that property immediately, like as soon as possible. These deals that I've done for my wholesalers and agents who bring deals to me, we have somebody out there, you know, I've gone out personally the same afternoon, the same night, you know, the following morning, the following day. Most of the time, me and my team are willing to get out there to the property much sooner than the agent or the wholesaler can get us access to the property. So usually it's us waiting on the wholesaler to get us through the property, as opposed to, you know, us saying, we can't be there until Friday. So, you know, if you're not willing as a buyer to pretty much drop everything, run, and do your best to get out to the property immediately, and put a high priority on getting out that deal, you really don't deserve to be a VIP buyer, and the agent should not be wasting their time bringing these deals to your attention in the future, because you're kind of treating them with disdain and disrespect of their time and that touchy situation they have with the seller. And that goes for agents and wholesalers. If an agent has a pocket listing and they're sitting there with that pocket listing and they call one of their buyers, and the buyer's, I'm out of town, I can't come until, 5 days later, Monday afternoon. They're damaging their reputation with their client by holding that property off the market and not pumping it out to all the channels in many cases, to try to hold their breath for this buyer to come back in Monday, only to maybe say the property needs too much work or the price is too high or whatever the case is. So, obviously that agent, if they have a buyer they call and that buyer comes out the same night, they give them that decision, that offer. Two things. Number one, they keep credibility with their client, with their seller. And number two, the person who comes out fast that way is going to have a higher probability of getting the deal. One of the things that I do personally, my team, is we have sellers, we have agents. Sometimes the agents are newer in the business. We provide some negotiation advice. Hey, this is where I think we could be. And, I'll even have, myself or one of my partners go to the appointment with my VIP agent or wholesaler. So someone comes to say, hey, I have this, this seller called me. They're asking this amount. I'm not really sure how much construction is. What's the deal? We run out, make the offer to them in the car, outside, let them know what we're going to do, where we're going to be. They can decide to go back in, make the offer on the spot. We can even make the offer directly to the seller with you and kind of talk about how we can compensate you for that position as well. So that's something that a VIP buyer can do for an agent or wholesaler is, make sure you're on the same team. If a wholesaler or an agent brings you a deal, you got to be clear about not trying to cut that wholesaler out, and make sure you have that wholesaler's still expectations at heart in that situation, so they can go back, get the contract and, assign the contract to you, and you're totally comfortable with them making whatever amount of money on that deal that they want to negotiate. But, they can back that in. So if someone brings me a deal and I'm in a neighborhood and we go out and take a look at the property and, I know I can pay $60,000, I tell them, hey, I can pay $60,000. I honestly don't care if that wholesaler goes in and gets it for $59,000 and signs the contract up and makes $1,000, comes back to me the next day for the assignment paperwork, or they can come back and, say they got it for 20 and, I'm still going to buy it for 60,000. Their, deal with that seller later after the fact has no impact on what I'm going to pay, but it allows that wholesaler to go in and negotiate knowing they kind of have that buyer lined up. We pay the assignment fees off sheet. That is something a VIP buyer can do for a wholesaler more so. So, if there's $10,000 assignment, you're getting paid. If it was going to be on, on the HUD, on the settlement sheet, and seller sees that, they may ask for 5 of that, and, you're going to pony up 5 because you want to keep the deal alive, and the other 5 you're ready to make as a profit. So if I pay the $10,000 assignment fee off sheet, you still would pay taxes on that money there. You would get a 1099 on that, but it does reduce, the risk of the deal blowing up. This one here for the VIP buyer, this is important. I see a lot of buyers who would have gotten deals done if it wasn't for the weasel clauses. And I know there's a lot of real estate books, written about putting in the attorney review period and making sure there's an inspection contingency of 5 days so you can go in and get the home inspection done, come back, renegotiate the deal. Due diligence clause is a big one. We see a lot of, we want a 10-day due diligence period. So you're going to lock up my deal for 10 days and you're going to shop it around, or you're going to decide you don't want it. Basically these weasel clauses, whatever the period is, if it's a 5-day inspection, I don't have a deal for 5 days. The decision's not even made in my mind for you to buy the property for 5 days. If it's a 10-day due diligence period and you're trying to be a VIP buyer with me, you haven't even made the decision to buy my property until 10 days after. And if I'm in a position where if I'm wholesaling a deal to you and you want me to wait 10 days, that's 10 days that I haven't gone to my private lender network, funded the deal, got my contractors out there. I haven't done everything on my end to make sure that the deal is going to close if you back out. And so if you do back out at the end of a 10-day due diligence period, I'm left holding the bag, and it puts me in a tough situation. And so if you're aware of that and you can find it in your gut and have the balls to make a decision, buy the deal and close every time on the deal, you're going to dramatically increase your reputation and credibility with the wholesalers that you deal with the agents that you deal with the probate and estate attorneys that you deal with. Because when you say that you're going to pay XYZ price, it may not be the price that seller likes, but it's going to be the price that's going to get the deal done. And so, when you decide to make the offer, make sure that that's an offer that you don't need to have an attorney review and make a due diligence clause and have any inspections on, and make sure you close the deal every time. That consistent closing is going to be one of the biggest things that you can do as a VIP buyer to earn that pole position, that important seat in the life of a wholesaler or an agent. And the last thing you can do as a VIP buyer is to close the deal quickly. 7 days is good. A week to close a deal is reasonably fast, reasonably quick enough. In most instances, 2 days is even better. Some of the best deals that you're going to be able to do are going to have very, very short deadlines for one reason or another. The deal will not be available if you have to close it sometimes in 7 days. And so being ready to close a deal in 1 or 2 days, that's another thing. I'm going to give you the very, very strong first position call. If I know that you can close a deal from a wholesaler, I'm wholesaling a deal, and I know you can close a deal in 2 days, and my buyer backs out because of a due diligence clause, who do you think that I'm going to call with that deal? I'm also going to be pressured to take a deal, maybe even a shorter deal, a better deal, for you, because you can close that thing in 1 day. So making sure that I have the ability, some of it is having the cash available. Some of it is having your private lenders, if that's how you're funding deals, on notice that there's going to be times when it's going to be a very, very short closing window, and so that the lenders aren't surprised when you're letting them know, hey, I got to close this thing out on, Wednesday. It's Monday afternoon. Prepare the lenders in advance for that kind of short notice deal. You don't want to look like an idiot or desperate or, under pressure, which you're going to feel under pressure if you haven't already lined up people's expectations in your network to prepare yourself to close better. Some of it's just a mental thing. For me, early on in the business, it would take me, 3 days to construct an offer and to detail my renovation costs and, figure out what I wanted to offer the seller. Now I can do that in 10 minutes. I can do it in 5 minutes. I can look at photos and I can make a buying decision and let someone know what my offer is going to be in a few hours. And there's times that, like I've already said, I close deals in 24 hours or less. I get a call at 9 o'clock in the morning and we're wiring money and settling at 2 o'clock in the afternoon the same day. So that pretty much is going to conclude our episode here. Just as a review, the episode here talking about the value of the VIP buyer. This is a tool for agents, wholesalers, and investors, the buyers themselves, to build the VIP buyer /agent/wholesaler relationship. As a buyer, you can listen to this audio a few times, make sure you understand how to be a VIP buyer from my perspective, having wholesaled tons of deals and having bought deals quickly. You want a nonstop source of deals, you're going to have to pay. Either you're going to invest in the marketing, the time and the money, or you're going to invest in these VIP buyer relationships with agents and wholesalers, or some combination of both. And so if you're going to do this, you might want to forward this audio to the agent or wholesaler you're trying to build the relationship with to help define the expectations of what each person is supposed to be doing. And as an agent, you have a benefit to developing buyers into VIP buyers. You want to kind of help get buyers on the same page and making the deals quickly. Otherwise, it's just, procrastinating and wasting time and no one's making any money. So you can forward the audio also and explain what your expectations are up front. Ultimately, as a wholesaler, you could do the same thing for the audio to buyers that you identify as wanting to be your VIP buyers. And, they can listen to this and maybe they can let you know, hey, you know what? That's great. I'm glad you sent it. I'll make sure I'm prepared to close in 3 days. Or maybe you circle back with that same person you sent the audio to and they say, you know what? I'm not closing anything in less than 30 days. My attorney needs to review all the documents, and you can kind of get a sense for how easy or not easy those, people would be to deal with. When you get in the business early on, before you have the ability to figure out who the real players are, I know I personally had a lot of people waste my time, and I, try to put a lot of deals together with a lot of people who are more interested in procrastinating and more interested in due diligence and inspection periods and having their attorney kill the deal. I'm grateful to have gotten over a lot of those humps, and I'm glad that I was able to share this here with you today, and hopefully we can avoid some of that pain that I've had to experience myself to grow from, lucky to do a deal or two to the point of getting a nice volume, steady, consistent source of deals flowing. So with that, I thank you for listening to the episode, and I hope you have a good day. That brings us to the end. So thank you for tuning in to this episode of the REI Diamond Show. Keep an eye out for the next episode. Fellow Chicagoan Mark Willis and I discuss a little-known method of investing your dollar twice. In other words, you can add cash to the first investment, then access that cash using a low-interest loan that's basically paying back that first investment to buy another investment, while at the same time that original investment continues to grow in value. This is not a beginner strategy for those of us just starting out here in the business of real estate investing, but maybe more of an advanced topic once you're already good at generating cash. And if you've been in the business or just plain successful at life for any length of time, you'll definitely want to catch that episode. Are you interested in receiving a pre-release of the next episode before the email goes out? Please subscribe on YouTube or one of the podcasting apps, including iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher. And if you'd like to check out a free download of my book, Become a Wholesale Real Estate Master, mentioned earlier in the episode, please go to reidiamonds.com and enter your email address there. Are you interested in contacting me directly? If you have a deal for sale, or maybe you'd like to suggest a guest to come on the show, or just say hello, you can reach me directly through reidiamonds.com using the contact form on that page. I am always buying houses, so I am always looking for deals in Chicago, Atlanta, Philadelphia, Miami, and Tampa. So if you have a deal, preferably one I can fix and flip, please send it over, reidiamonds.com. Also at that site, you can check out available profitable real estate deals in those markets and the entire archive of the REI Diamond Show, totaling more than 121 content-rich, money-making, idea-packed episodes. Accredited investors are already earning double-digit returns passively investing in real estate. Are you? You can sign up to receive private mortgage investment opportunities via email by going to superchargedreturns.com. Thanks again for tuning in to the REI Diamond Show. Dan Breslin here, signing off.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the REI Diamonds Show with Dan Breslin. To receive email notifications of new weekly episodes, sign up at www.reidiamonds.com.